C through D, like that's where we're trying to go.
Well, the C through D lot ain't even got nobody in line. I have. It's like, oh man, no, I ain't gotta go that bad.
Running the marathon, running to, really just kind of setting goals. So I think everyone should have goals that they set, whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And so one of my goals for this year was to run a marathon and then, either set a personal best or try to get a sub-4. So I didn't hit my sub-4, but I did get a personal best. So yeah, I think it's just about goals and like pushing yourself and really, seeking out your perceived limits and then trying to push beyond that just a little bit more. Yeah, so this year, a lot of struggle with my Achilles. Yesterday when I ran, I thought I would be most susceptible to injuring my Achilles, but it held up fine. It gave me a little bit of pain throughout the day, but it kind of went up and then went down. But I'm so far injury-free, but I'd say Achilles was on my mind the most yesterday. I think it's just sheer discipline and the habit of getting out and running, setting a plan and telling yourself you're going to stick to it. So I think the reward of just sticking to a plan motivates me to run. The sense of accomplishment, knowing that if I don't prepare for the run, that it'll be very painful on the day of the event, motivates me to run. So, and I think I kind of try to apply those principles in everyday life that, if the future pain is going to be so great of, not being prepared for the business meeting or, not having time to spend with my children or something like that, then I need to prepare today so that I can set my future self up for success, or less pain in the future. So I think about my future self and not robbing him, and that's what prepares me in the moment to take action. So reading, I read about the sport, talking to people who are in the sport, so like mentors and stuff. I think most of all is just practicing the sport. So everybody reacts differently to hydration, to nutrition, heat exhaustion, fatigue. And so just getting out there with your own body and experimenting and, how did I feel? What could I change? What could I do better? I think practice is the only way to truly build your knowledge of how you're going to feel on game day. I always tell people that God smiles when I run. I think there's something about pushing yourself kind of beyond that perceived limit. I think multiple times in my life, if you'd asked me, Charles, how far do you think you could go, or how much do you think you could do, I would have told you something, and I would have undercut it by 70%, in the beginning. And just so many times in my life, I've been put in difficult situations where I've had no choice but to exceed that limit. And I've been amazed at what is possible. And so I think the enjoyment now comes from, what else is out there that's possible that I don't know about, and kind of leaning into that unknown and trying to figure that out. So running, whether it's a speed or a time or a distance or whatever that may be, I think the motivation is like, figuring out the unknown, like pushing myself to a place where I've never been before. That's what's exciting and motivating to me. Lately I think about, where are my feet hitting? How's my placement of my feet? Like, where are they hitting the pavement at? Where are my elbows at? Are they coming too far forward? Or are they staying back? I think about my cadence, and that's probably about it for most of it. When I get really fatigued and I want to give up, I tend to sing to myself a little bit quietly, and I'll sing it's any kind of song that I can hold a rhythm with, and then try to match my cadence up with that rhythm. But yeah, I really just think a lot about my feet, my time, my pace, and where they're hitting, the sounds they're making. Sometimes I wander and think about life, but then I tend to slow down a little bit. So I got to stay on top of it, and But yeah, how does the pavement feel? Am I connecting good with the earth? Am I leaving good energy there, and am I using that energy? And it's more mechanics. The mechanics of running. So, but if I let my mind drift, I get lazy form, and then I injure myself. So I got to stay on top of it. And when your mind wanders, that's when you slow down, because I get preoccupied with whatever the thought is, and then I'm like, oh man, I just did that mile, 30 seconds slower than I should have, and then I gotta play catch up. So it can be tough. So I try to stay focused on the time as much as possible. I don't listen to any music when I run. I like to be in the moment. I like to hear my feet. I like to hear the sounds, the birds, the crickets, the frogs. So I don't listen to music when I run ever, or when I cycle or anything.
No, like motivational tapes or nothing like that?
No. I can crawl pretty deep in my own head when I run. So, yeah.